All right, today we're going on a grand journey, tracing two rivers that are so much more than just water. They're basically the arteries of the entire subcontinent, the Indus and the Ganga. And look, if you're preparing for the UPSC prelims, knowing their journey from the glacier all the way to the sea, well, it's an absolute must. So, let's dive in.
Here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll start right at the source, way up in the Himalayas. Then, we'll follow them as they carve through some insane mountain ranges. After that, we'll see how they become the lifeblood of the plains. We'll put them side by side for a little comparison, and then we'll wrap up with a quick quiz to make sure all these crucial facts are locked in.
And this map just sets the stage perfectly, doesn't it? You can see the Indus system weaving its way west toward the Arabian Sea, and then the Ganga system flowing east across those vast plains, heading for the Bay of Bengal. You got two absolutely monumental lifelines, born in the same colossal mountain range, but each with a totally different story to tell.
So, let's start where they do. High up in the Himalayas. Where do these mighty rivers actually come from? What's their birthplace like? You know, this is where it gets really interesting right off the bat. On one hand, you've got the Indus, which starts its journey way out in Tibet, near Mount Kailash. They even call it Lion's Mouth out there. But the Ganga, its story begins inside India, as a river called the Bhagirathi, which emerges from the famous Gangotri Glacier in Uttarakhand. So right from the start, two different countries, two very distinct starting points. Okay, so from these icy birthplaces, the rivers begin this incredibly powerful descent. They have to run a gauntlet, basically, through the world's most formidable mountain ranges. This is where their character is really forged. For the Indus, its early life is just a stunning feat of geography. Try to picture this. It flows in a long, almost perfectly straight line, literally squeezed between the Ladakh range on one side and the Zaskar range on the other. This is a classic exam question, by the way, so definitely remember that detail. Now, the Ganga's origin story is completely different. It isn't born as a single mighty stream, nope. It's actually assembled piece by piece as different headwaters merge at these 5 sacred meeting points called the Panch Prayag. Let's take a look at how this incredible process actually works.
This table just lays it all out so clearly. You see that one constant? It's the Alaknanda River. It's like the main channel, collecting waters from the Dali Ganga, Nandakini, Pindar, and Mandakini. But the final, most crucial meeting? That happens at Devprayag. This is the moment the Bhagirathi, the original stream from the glacier, finally joins the Alaknanda, and it's only from this point on that the river is actually called the Ganga. So, our rivers have battled their way out of the steep mountain gorges, and now they spill out onto the vast northern plains. And here, their whole journey transforms. They slow down, they get wider, and they become the lifeblood for millions, fed by this huge, complex network of tributaries.
All right, for the Indus system, there is one term you absolutely have to know: Panjnad. Now, this isn't a river, it's a place. It's the specific spot where those famous 5 rivers of the Punjab, the Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, and Satluj all merge their waters together before dumping into the main Indus River in Pakistan. Super important concept. With the Ganga, the story is all about its 2 banks. From the left side, it's joined by rivers born in the Himalayas, like the Gahara and the Kosi. But from the right side, it gets fed by rivers with a totally different background, like the Sun and the Chambal, which come all the way up from the peninsular plateau. This north-south distinction is absolutely key in understanding the whole basin.
And among all these rivers feeding into the Ganga, one stands head and shoulders above the rest, the Yamuna. Now, even though it joins from the right bank, it actually starts in the Himalayas too, at the Yamunotri Glacier. It runs almost parallel to the Ganga for a long, long time before their famous meeting at Prayagraj. There's no doubt about it. It's the Ganga's biggest and most important partner.
Okay, so we've traced our 2 main river systems. Now let's kind of zoom out a little bit. How do these Himalayan giants stack up against each other? And more importantly, how are they different from the rivers of peninsular India?
This table makes the comparison super easy. You'll notice the Indus is a bit longer, and of course, their final destinations are on opposite sides of the subcontinent: the Arabian Sea for the Indus, the Bay of Bengal for the Ganga. But their key features really tell the story. The Indus is defined by collecting the Panjnad, while the Ganga is famous for creating the largest delta in the world.
But honestly, the biggest difference of all comes when you compare Himalayan rivers to their cousins down in the peninsula, like the Narmada or the Godavari. It all boils down to one thing: their water source. Himalayan rivers are perennial, meaning they flow all year round because they're fed by melting glaciers and rain. Peninsular rivers, on the other hand, are mostly seasonal. They depend on the monsoons, so they swell up during the rains and shrink in the dry season. That one fact changes everything about them.
Whew, we have traced these rivers all the way from their icy origins, through mountain passes, across enormous plains, and finally out to the sea. So, the big question is, have the key facts of this epic journey stuck with you?
All right, it's time for a quick-fire round to see what you've learned. I've got 5 questions for you, pulling out the kind of details that are prime material for the exam. You ready? Let's do it. First one up, where does the Bhagirathi finally meet the Alaknanda to officially become the Ganga? Think about it. The answer is Devprayag.
Okay, next question. Let's go back to that incredible upper course of the Indus. Which 2 mountain ranges channel its flow? The correct answer is the Ladakh and the Zaskar ranges.
Time for a vocabulary test. What's that special name for the place where the 5 rivers of the Punjab come together? That term is Panjnad. And remember, it's a place, not a river itself.
Here's a bit of a trickier one. There's a subtle highland area near Ambala. What 2 massive river systems does it separate? That would be the Indus and the Ganga river systems.
And for our last question, a real cornerstone fact about the Ganga's network. Who is its most significant partner? That is, of course, the Yamuna River.
So as we've seen, these rivers are so much more than just lines on a map. They are incredibly complex systems, and each one has its own unique story, from its source to the sea. Understanding their journey, their tributaries, and what makes them different isn't just about geography, it's about understanding the very foundation of the subcontinent. Thanks for joining me on this one.